from Indiana. He's a member of the Appropriations Committee. Are you going to vote for this, and when will it pass, Senator?
Well, I'm definitely not going to vote for it. And you got to remember, this is something we should have had done by last September 30th. The fiscal year began for the new year on October 1st. I've been here 4 years, and we really haven't done any budget work. Bernie Sanders gavels us in now. And in the last 2 years, there's been nothing on the mechanics of a budget. This goes way back, probably turn of the century, when we put a couple wars on the credit card. Other side of the aisle, Obama gets there, doubles down on this kind of borrowing from future generations. And now it has evolved into that modern monetary theory, which you referred to earlier. I actually debated Bernie Sanders on the Senate floor for 25 minutes on that 7-8 months ago. Find it if you need to stay awake some night. It has gotten to where this idea of doing nothing to run the biggest business in the world, and you plop a 4,000-page bill in our lap, and now we hear they're going to try to vote on it maybe by tomorrow evening. So complete chaos. And part of how we've gotten here is that unholy alliance. We call ourselves fiscal conservatives. The Democrats are unapologetic about borrowing and spending, and they roll us every year at the last minute because they tempt us to match domestic spending with defense. We fall for it every time you've got this mess.
I like the way you said that we deny that we're, big spenders, but they actually admit it. But you're basically saying that both parties do it. It's just that one party pretends that they're not. But that's not good. So this isn't the first time we need to pass something to know what's in it, is it, Senator? We do that every time. It's another thing that Americans probably are not too fond of.
In the real world, I was a state legislator for 3 years. You did regular order, was on Ways and Means. We brought stakeholders into the discussion early. We didn't guarantee that particular group was going to get more. A lot of times they got less if it wasn't effective. Here, it's a question of just how much more you're going to up it. And like I say, the Dems roll us each year. So the process has been this is the biggest business in the world. We were running structural trillion-dollar deficits when I got here, 18 trillion in debt. We're now 31. I asked a group of reporters the other day, do you know what 1% of 30 trillion is? Of course, that's such a big number, no one could get it out right away. The crowding out effect of interest alone is going to have impact going forward. You saw what Japan did recently. All central banks are going to probably have to get things back to historical norms. You can't keep accommodating this kind of spend and borrow that's going to take us all into a bad place. Now we're the second most indebted economy next to Japan. It can be changed, but I think fiscal policy is a bigger driver than any other variable. Private sector balance sheets are clean. This place is going to lose its relevance if it keeps doing the same thing year after year.
Well, we know that the higher interest costs for the government there's someone who could give you a number on GDP and what it takes off of GDP every year from the crowding out phenomenon that you just mentioned. But people realize it, but we get tax cuts from Republicans. I personally think that I'd rather just in general leave money in the private sector, but everything adds to the deficit, which causes the Fed to monetize what you guys in Washington are constantly doing. So do you see it ending? Do you see getting off of this train ever?
Well, I decided not to go to Wall Street many, many years ago, moved back to my hometown, started a little business. I can tell you for those nearly 20 years out of the gate, you would never get a line of credit if you were performing like this place. You had a couple years where you lost 20% on your volume. You wouldn't even get an appointment at the bank. So I do not see it ending. Many here don't come from Main Street, have not run anything, not taken Finance 101, let alone a macroeconomics class. So I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. The Medicare Trust Fund is going to be depleted in 4 years. We've been paying into that since the 60s. Crowding out effect, it makes what Keynes would never be comfortable with on
Senator,
fiscal policy, which is supposed to be counter-cyclical.
You think Americans in general are still with a lot of the things you're saying? Because it wasn't reflected in the last election. What happened in the last election? Do you think it was bad candidates from the former president's effects or abortion? What do you think happened? Because somehow the Republicans snatched defeat. Well, it wasn't defeat, but they certainly didn't have the victory that the party was hoping for, given the backdrop. I mean, list the things that you could have run on in terms of crime or the border or inflation or Afghan. I mean, you could go down the list. What happened in your view, and what's going to happen in 2024?
Well, it's clear that they're faster footed than we are politically. I think they know the mechanics of this game that is their cathedral and growth business, and they parlay it even in elections. They found the movable voters in Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, and got them to the polls. We had all the issues, ended up winning the popular vote by 3 million votes, and picked up just a handful of seats. We need to start watching what they're doing and not be apologetic about it, get as good as they are. And yes, we had crime in the cities, we had a chaos on the border, we had the best economy that I was ever a part of pre-COVID, and we couldn't make sense out of that to do better. So yes, we need to watch what they're doing and then also be the party of fiscal responsibility, put it on the line, and we've got an opportunity going forward to do that.
Well, you know President Trump pretty well, former President Trump. Would he play spoiler in your view if he's not going to knows he's not going to win? Would he try to prevent someone else from winning?
That complicates it even more because it's hard to tell how that scenario works out.
Right.
The issues should still be on our side, even despite that.
All right. Well, Becky says she's from Indiana. I'm from Ohio. It's God's country. You probably love going back for the holidays. Enjoy. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
All right. Thanks, Senator. Coming up.